In the second row, you have a bad spinal condition?
Yes.
And your hip is injured?
Yes.
Step from your wheelchair. Begin to step from your wheelchair. Try it. Just try it. Just try it. We have nothing to lose. We have no face to lose because we've said we're no panacea. But I have seen more healings here than I've ever seen any place. I love you. Jesus Christ loves you. Jehovah Jireh. All the goodness of all the world's great religions, in the name and the mercy and the goodness of Jesus, wherein I stand. Come forth, my dear. Stand up. Take that step. Bless your heart. Take that step. Take that step. Now. Move forward. Move forward. Move forward. Move forward. Move forward. Move forward, darling. You can do it. Move forward. Move forward. Child, sweetheart, would you step out my way just a moment so that I can just keep my love calm? Now, move forward. Freely, freely, freely. Now begin to exercise the hip. Begin to exercise the joint. I love you. Christ loves you. The people love you. Now, sister, walk briskly. Walk. Walk briskly. Walk. Walk.
The United States, since winning its independence, 13 federated states along the Atlantic seaboard, has spanned the continent. It has spread westward 3,000 miles from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and from the 49th parallel on the north to the Rio Grande on the south. The peopling of this region was the greatest migration of mankind in all history.
Wakonda, Lathan Wapatha, Atohi. The great chief in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land. He asks much of us, but it will not be easy, for this land is sacred to us. How can you buy or sell the sky, the rain, and the wind? That idea is strange to us. If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them? Every part of this earth is sacred to my people.
There is but one divine and absolutely perfect code of social duties, one absolutely perfect constitution of society in the world. The civilized world, without an exception, without a dissenting voice, assents to this law as the standard of moral perfection in the social system. It was written, and it is the only law ever literally written, by the hand of God. I need not say that it was the Magna Carta of the only nation ever God placed under a theocratic form of government. It is sometimes emphatically called the law, or the law of 10 commandments. Its preamble is, I am the Lord thy God, that brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Therefore hear, O Israel. To one section of it we emphatically invite attention. It is the consummating statute of the divine constitution. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's property. This is our first argument in demonstration of the divine recognition and acknowledgement of the relation of master and servant, or of one man having a rightful property in another.
Miles from Fargo.
Well, I'm not about to sacrifice my children. I mean, I want them to get a good education, but I really believe they can't get a good education in an integrated school. At least not in the South. It just won't work in the South.
Maybe it'll come someday. But right now, don't hardly seem the time. The niggers ain't ready. And we sure ain't ready. Like the Bible says, there's a time for everything. We, the people of Prince Edward County, believe that the welfare of both the white and Negro races is best served by their separation in the public schools. We acknowledge the Constitution to be the supreme law of the land and the bulwark of our liberties. But we believe that the Supreme Court has flagrantly exceeded its lawful authority and dangerously encroached upon the reserved rights of the states. We believe that a policy which undertakes to force the association of one race with the other against the will of either is injurious to the true interests of both races. We therefore ask our Board of Supervisors to prohibit any funds for the operation of racially mixed schools.
Civil rights platform. The Supreme Court is due to make a decision pretty soon, sir, on segregation in the schools. Now, how do you Georgians think that decision is going to go?
Well, anticipating what the Supreme Court will do, all you can do, Larry, is follow legal precedents that have existed for a great number of years. Now, we know that the Supreme Court of the United States for the last 88 years has been making decisions relative to segregation in the common schools. Those decisions have all been the same. They've been written by Justice Brandeis, Chief Justice Hughes, William Howard Taft, Justice Stone, all of the legal giants of American jurisprudence. Without exception, they have held that the matter of segregation in the common schools of our state is a matter that addresses itself to each state and not to the federal government. Nowhere in the federal Constitution is the word schools or education or anything of that kind mentioned. The Constitution hasn't changed. The laws have not changed. Sometimes the political complexion of a court does change. Sometimes it may be swayed by political pressures or sometimes by sociological opinions. But if they follow the law, as all lawyers understand it, they will uphold the present method, which is separate but equal schools, and each state themselves may determine whether they want to maintain and preserve segregation or what the court does to thwart or change our present system of state control of our educational systems will be the most difficult thing that we in the southern states have had to approach or deal with since the war between people in the South, and also the Negroes in the South want it left alone, just like it is. Few agitators might do so if they had to maintain segregation. We intend to maintain separate schools in Georgia, one way or another, come what may. A lot of people that aren't familiar with it don't realize how far-reaching or deep-seated that is for both races, white and colored. Now, about the nearest comparison that I can possibly think of at the moment, if the Supreme Court of the United States suddenly handed down a decision that you could no longer worship your God in these United States as you saw fit, you can imagine the consternation, the chaos, the turmoil, the excitement that that would create. Any decision to outlaw segregation in the common schools in the southern states would amount to about the same thing.
Custom and tradition are against racial mingling, but how do you think this whole problem is going to be solved in the future?
Well, it'll have to be solved in the future just as it has been solved in the past, by each state controlling state matters and the federal government handling federal problems and leaving local matters alone. Because if we had to set up a federal bureaucracy that tries to regulate the lives and social customs and feelings and one thing and another of all of its citizens, it will mean our Republican form of government as we know it today will be destroyed. The federal government next will be having thought police and people to go around and examine you to see if you have any prejudices against red-headed people or blue-eyed people or freckle-faced people, and we find ourselves getting into the realm of the ridiculous when we try to deal with matters that aren't authorized by the
Honorable Herman Talmadge, Governor of Georgia.
It's not about being anti-anyone. It's about being for marriage between a man and a woman.
I thought equality was non-negotiable.
Right now, at this time in America,
the push for gay marriage around the country is a big deal.
Tens of thousands of gay rights supporters marched from the White House to the Capitol,
petitioning for equal rights.
Gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people
They deserve a chance just like anyone else. They deserve
justice and fairness and wholeness and openness and compassion.
Equal and fair treatment from our government. And it is not the federal government's business to tell Texans what to do in Texas on any issue.
It's important for us to pause for a moment
and realize that marriage law discrimination
holds and harbors hate.
Matt Shepard, the gay college student savagely beaten last week in Wyoming, died this morning.
Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed.
How many more gay people does God have to create before we ask ourselves whether or not God actually wants them around?
But we believe in what we believe for the reasons we believe in them. And for each person, they're different.
I'm gay.
Yeah, I'm gay.
I'm gay.
How can we, as people who make the laws, say to one small group of our fellow citizens, you know, there's something about you that some people don't like, so you are not eligible for work. You can be fired. You can't get a promotion.
In 2003, I had the chance to come to the legislature, and we passed, for the first time, the Defense of Marriage Act, defining marriage as between a man and a woman. But we believe in what we believe for the reasons we believe in them. And for each person, they're different.